So, Dave, you're a farmer and I'm not, and I'm trying to connect the dots between farming and what Jesus said about the fields being white unto harvest and sending laborers. And so I was thinking, okay, so how does a farmer know when it's time to harvest? How do you know when a field is white or whatever that means? So just talk about that for a second. Help me to understand from your perspective. By the way, wait. You harvest what? What do you harvest?
Soybeans and corn.
Soybeans, corn, and you got how many acres at your place?
All was roughly 700 acres for me to harvest this year.
Okay, and you got about how much soybeans and how much corn?
Oh, 420 or 430 of beans and about 300 of corn thereabouts.
Okay, and so, all right, so those soybeans, how do you know when it's time to harvest? Soybeans, how do you
Well,
know?
based on a past experience, when you see the plants are completely dead, where there's no or very little green in the field, if you take a soybean pod between your fingers and it crackles and doesn't just mush, those are all signs.
Yeah,
Sometimes some
yeah.
folks would say if your neighbor's working, it's probably ready, and you look at them and you go on
Yeah,
that
but somebody's got to
basis.
start it. So, I mean, sometimes you have to be the neighbor.
Well, sometimes, if the neighbor gets going, everybody in the neighborhood decides, well, maybe I better get out there too. For corn, the plants are mostly dead, a tiny bit of green. The ears are not upright on the stalk anymore, but have fallen over. If you take a hold of the cob or the ear and the grains move freely and are
Yeah.
not, crushing in your hand, that's another sign, I guess.
So from here to then, I guess you got to get you got to get into the field to know. You can't just kind of observe it from a distance. I mean, maybe you can pick up a little bit of color from a distance.
Well, I like to scout from the pickup truck, but occasionally I have to get out in the field and just see.
And you get it right there, right down to the hand level, get up close
Yeah,
to be sure.
yeah.
You kind of get the more that you think you're heading in the right direction, probably the closer you got to get to the actual
Probably.
field.
And then at some point you just have to decide, well, we're going to try this, run the combine out there and see. And you'll know pretty quickly if you're there too soon.
So how would you know if you're
Well,
there too soon with the combine?
Well, it would, for soybeans, it would draw a lot of power through the machine because the stems weren't ready.
So the machines would have to work harder, and you could
Yeah,
feel
you could feel it. You could notice the RPM drop. You see green beans in the sample. You might have a tough time separating the trash from the beans if they were too green. With corn, you can tell because when it piles up in the bin, it gets a real sharp peak. But if it's dry, it flattens out in the bin. Wet corn, I don't know how you would describe. An engineer could describe it, but it will peak up in your truck or your combine bin. If it's dry, it flattens out more.
it lays down.
And you have moisture testers. You can take away any guessing by testing the moisture, especially on corn.
It's drier when it's drier when it's time to be harvested.
Yeah. Well, you can harvest wet corn, not so much wet beans, but it's very expensive to harvest, to handle, and to dry. It's very expensive to dry, so you want it closer to storage moisture.
Maybe one last question. So emotionally, what does it feel like to harvest?
It's the best of times, it's the worst of times. It's so exciting to harvest a crop, but it's a really high stress time of year.
Because what's the stress part?
I have to work with other people. I usually work by myself, and I don't really like to work with other people that much. And you've got the most complicated machine on the farm. You got to try to keep running and try to do the proper service on it, and hope it holds together at least one more day.
Right, because you got to get.
Yeah, you always want one more day, no matter what. You want one more day until the next day, and then you want another one more day.
Yeah, until it's done.
Something like that.
And then you can rest. Put it up,
and then I'll be able to sleep again and stop taking medicines.
Are you glad you're a farmer?
I don't know any difference, so yeah. I've been blessed with the opportunity, Mo. A lot of people would like to and haven't had the chance, but I've been blessed with that opportunity, and I try to be thankful for that part of it every day.
Dave, this makes me think I want to be a little more of a farmer. Thank you.
Yeah. It's always a pleasure to talk to you, Mo.
That's good.